Hello and welcome to Indie Game Arcade, a podcast all about indie games. In this episode, we are talking about Ender Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist, and Urban Myth Dissolution Center. My name is Chris.
And I'm Joseph. I'm back. Apparently, I've been out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what you've told everybody. Last week, I was just very, very sick with the flu, so I couldn't be on. And the week before, I was just very, very busy with life, so I couldn't be on. So whatever he told you was probably a lie.
I had just said that your run had ended, that you had failed your run, and I was waiting on you to respawn.
Okay, fair.
And that you failed to respawn last week because you were just so weak. You just have such a weak body. You couldn't respawn. So
yeah. Well, what happened last week was like I had respawned and I was going to retrieve my souls from my corpse, but I couldn't get to it without getting killed again. So I lost all my souls. So I just had to take a break from life for a little while.
Someone was spawn camping you.
Yeah.
You couldn't get your souls back. Yeah.
Spawn camping me, just doing the little like Halo squat on me. It was all bad.
You were getting teabagged for a week.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it felt like. Life was teabagging me for a week.
Exactly.
Being sick is the worst.
Yeah, I'm like, you might be able to hear it in my throat a little bit, but like I've got it again, like a bit of a cold going on.
You're just in a perpetual state of sickness, but I think like that's like just parenthood. That's like part of it.
It is. Like we all have it right now. My daughter, my wife, me, like all three of us have it. So yeah, it's just been like, we're keeping, like Kleenex, basically, we're keeping them employed at this point. So
yeah,
it's just Kleenex after Kleenex after Kleenex. But
you think Big Kleenex is the one who just spreads these things just to stay in business?
Yeah, I think so. I think what they do is they employ sick children to lick every surface. And then they're like, oh, here you go. Here's some more tissues for you. And I'm like, yes, please. Can you please make it the ones with the lotion in it? I don't know how you get that lotion in this piece of paper, but I'll take it because it feels much better. It
smells good.
Yeah, it smells good and it makes my nose feel much better than the ones without. So
yeah, I'm not rubbing it with sandpaper anymore.
No. Sometimes I get desperate and like I'll just grab some toilet paper and do it. And I'm like, why? Why did I do that?
The most desperate is like when you're just in the kitchen and you're just, I'm so snotty, and you get a paper towel, and then, it's literally like, I might as well be rubbing it up against, like, I don't know, a brick wall.
I made that mistake 2 days ago, and, like, it made my nose bleed. Because I made the mistake of, like, crinkling
it's at least going to be super raw.
Yeah, crinkled it up, gave myself, like, some sort of, I don't know, like, made it too raw, gave myself a nosebleed. So this is our episode about runny noses, nosebleeds, colds.
Yeah, I forgot. We're supposed to be talking about video games.
Yeah.
Game start!
Let's start with Ender Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist. This released on January 22nd, 2025, developed by AdGlobe and Livewire, published by Binary Haze Interactive, and retails for $24.99. And for a short description, decades after the event of Ender Lilies, which was the original game, the first one, the homunculi, sorrowful artificial life forms, roam the land. In this dark fantasy Metroidvania, face formidable enemies and explore a bewitching post-apocalyptic world. Journey with homunculi and help those who have lost their minds to the fumes. Fight fearsome, powerful enemies, purify their souls, and rally your companions. The fume, like, when I first started playing it, I was kind of like, they got evil gas? What? What is this?
Kind of? Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially, it's like evil steam gas that, like, possessed all of them,
like,
right?
Toxic gas that possessed the homunculi, or at least, like, drove them kind of mad, I guess?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a whole thing. This was a lot story-wise. And this is one of those rare occasions where I actually went through an entire game. I mean, I had time to do it since I was mid-respawn the whole time. But it's where even... I'll start by saying, TLDR, I'll start by saying that while I did play through and 100% of the game, achievements and all, I didn't love my time with it, which is weird to even say. It's like, why would I spend so much time with this game that I wasn't having a great time with?
That is weird.
And I'll explain along the way.
Okay. I did post your screen cap of the 100% completion on our Blue Sky the other day, followed up by my 100% of Batography, a game that you can complete in less than 15 minutes. So
that shouldn't count. That's a big difference.
No, it counted. I had to play it like 2 or 3 times to make sure I got it all.
Oh no, 30 minutes instead of 15 minutes.
Hey man, I was proud of my achievement. I was feeling left out. I was like, I want to 100% something. Here you go.
Let me play something that has one achievement. So I'm
going to talk about Batography a little bit later too. But
all right.
First, let's talk about Ender Magnolia. This was one that you, as you said, you 100%ed. You put in lots of hours into this one. So why don't you go ahead and take it away?
About 25 hours. Gameplay wise, if you've ever played the first one, it's very similar to that, where it is a side-scrolling action Metroidvania. You are the options you have for combat are a mixture of ranged and melee that are dependent on. It's very customizable in the sense that the homunculi, like you mentioned earlier, that you are you're purifying and like bringing over to your side, they are essentially acting as your weapons. Like at first I thought it was kind of a Mega Man thing where you're like absorbing things, but you're not really absorbing them. They're just kind of there with you, and they pop out as like your attacks. Like you, as the small like a tuner that you are, like you're not attacking at all. You're kind of just like leading homunculi to attack. So like your basic attack is, at least your starting basic attack, your melee one is your the first homunculi you come across, which is Nola, and she is like starts with a sword, but then she can either upgrade to a scythe or an axe, and that's where it's like, okay, this is my basic attack, and then you've got your additional attacks that come in the form of other homunculi that you're coming across. Those are kind of your secondary attacks, and those can be things like I don't know, like either ice or fire spells, things like that, or just ranged combat in a way. And you can combine a lot of those together, sort of make combos out of these customizations, and you can assign them to any of your like face buttons that you want to, assuming you're using a controller. And that's where there's a lot of surface level customization to your combat to play it the way that you want to, even so much so that there are homunculi that you can get that will auto attack for you. Like once you have them equipped, they will just do the work for you. And it literally says in the description, like for people who don't want to worry about like combining or like, button mapping and everything. So there's ease of use to it for people who choose to go that route. And then there's more tactile manual combat for those who choose that route. So a lot of options for sure, gameplay wise. You have a parry kind of, and you can dodge, of course. There's a lot of environmental storytelling going throughout as you're exploring it. Like any Metroidvania, it's like that giant map with all these rooms that you're coming across. You can see a lot of like spots that you haven't visited, maps that are areas on the map that are unexplored. And something that I initially liked about this game, but the more I played through it, the more I'm not sure how I feel about it, is to complete a room in the map. Once you do complete it, once you search it and you find whatever secret it's hiding, the room will turn blue. Until then, it's just a gray room. And now, in theory, that's cool for if you want to be like, okay, I missed something over here, I need to go get it. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, that kind of is taking away from the idea of organic exploration or discovery, because it's like, I don't always want to know that I missed something, because then it sort of cheapens me going to look for it, because then I'm really scrounging because I know something's there. You know what I mean? Instead of just like being surprised by it.
Yeah, I suppose so. So I wasn't even thinking about that, because for me, I was thinking, oh yeah, like I must have missed something here. I should go back and check that out. Just like I want to cover my bases. I see where you're coming from in a standpoint of like, it's almost like a built-in player's guide where it can kind of feel a little handholdy in that. And that maybe a solution there would be that that's something that can be toggled on or off.
I don't like that either, because that means it's there and you're just making it harder on yourself. Well, I want there to be an in-between, because games that do it well, like I think this is the way Nine Souls did it, is you've got a percentage of like completion of like, okay, not even for the room, just for the area. And it's just telling you like that this entire area, you're maybe 50% complete. And that might not be exactly like Nine Souls that I'm thinking of, but I know some games do it this way. And I like that because then it's like, it's at least narrowing it down to like, okay, I know I missed something in this whole area. I don't know where exactly, so I need to explore more. But these rooms in this game are small enough to where it's like, okay, I missed something here. I'm just going to basically crawl up all the walls until I find a hidden entrance. I'm going to go into it and find it. And there's just like, okay, boom, I got it. It's off my checklist. So for the sake of, I guess, speed and, cutting down on some of the time that exploration might take, I get to just being very friendly to people with limited time who still want to have fully complete a game. Like, cool. Like that, I get that. But I just feel like maybe this is like too much on the handholdy side instead of finding a better balance of an in-between for people like maybe myself or others who want more of a sense of discovery. Really,
the solution is kind of like what you were talking about of like a completion percentage for like the overall area, while leaving the gray to blue more along the lines of whether you've actually like been to that room yet or not.
Potentially, yeah. And that might not be the most elegant solution. I'm just kind of like spitballing a little bit, but I just know that what this was overdoing it a little for me personally.
Sure. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
As far as the progression and flow of the game go, it's your typical nonlinear exploration where you can go to all these different places, all these different rooms. There is seemingly very little guidance on like where I was supposed to go, which is good and bad in the sense that it's like, cool, that means I need to explore all over the place. And maybe I just wasn't listening to some of the dialogue that was happening that maybe told me exactly where I needed to go. But for the most part, I was just literally going to every room. This is why I 100%ed it so easily, because I went to every room that was unexplored because I'm like, okay, well, I haven't been here, so this must be where I need to go. And if it wasn't, it's like, okay, well, it's got to be the next room. And so it's just kind of a step-by-step process of that, to the point where it's like, I don't know what was optional and what was like mandatory at all, because it all blended together in the way that the layout was very free form, but not really indicative of what you were actually accomplishing.
I'll agree with that, because in particular, there was like one moment specifically where when I found the winged guy, Yolvan, I think his name is, like when I encountered him, like I didn't even realize I was about to encounter him. Like I knew that that's what I was supposed to, like I was supposed to find him. But I was just kind of goofing around exploring stuff, and I thought I was just discovering secrets and stuff, and I ended up finding him. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if like this was the way you were supposed to reach him or not. So like you, I think I was kind of in that boat of like not understanding if I was like following the like flow of the game in the sense of like how the dev envisioned it, or if I like just stumbled across it in like a roundabout way that still works out, or maybe that is the intention of there are multiple ways to, still hit some of the plot points. I'm not sure.
I think there were spots where they overdid the hand-holding, like the map part, and then there are parts where it's like, okay, I think you could have put it here instead, and that would have been like a nice in-between to actually help guide me through what I was supposed to be doing. For instance, there's this explorer girl that you run across multiple times throughout the game, and she gives you these your rare artifacts that she's finding, but she won't tell you who to give them to exactly. She just kind of like gives you a general idea of like someone might be interested in this. Even though I've gotten through the whole game and did everything, I could not tell you a single instance of like who I actually gave any of those to, or if I did. But I 100% of the game, so I must have. But that's
right.
Back to your point of like, I must have just like accidentally run across them. It went into like a mini cutscene, and then I did something with it, but none of it felt impactful enough or gave me an indication that I had done the thing that she had wanted me to do with the thing. And that's where it's like, if I think what they could have and maybe should have done with her specifically and those artifacts is like, if I've gone out of my way to actually reach the point where I've gotten to her, because I know that she was an optional thing, since some of it was like really off the beaten path, it seems like they could at least have either had her tell me who to give it to or put some kind of marker on the map to show like the area this person was in, because I had no idea where any of that stuff was supposed to be taken or if I even did it. And if I didn't, then it's even less satisfying because it's like, well, I don't know what I missed out on then.
Right.
And so like that just happens so many times throughout the game. And it seems really important because of how like it goes into a cutscene anytime you run into her and she goes through this whole dialogue. I guess it just wasn't like tying up loose ends enough for me there, or it wasn't like making it cohesive enough with the story to where it felt like it was making any difference at all, or that I was actually doing anything with those. Let's talk about combat real quick. So combat has its own sort of like challenges to it. There's enough enemy variety. It's not like crazy, and a lot of them have like very similar attack patterns, but I think it's enough, especially with the variety of options that you have for combat, however you're choosing to approach it. There are also relics that you come across that help you customize a little bit more. Like some might make your attacks do more damage when you're in the air, like doing air combos, or when you're on the ground, or they make your elemental stuff stack more so that it triggers like something like burn or poison or whatever quicker. So there are those options there, but there's a but to a lot of things. I'm really not trying to sound negative about this. I just, having gone through this whole game, like I know what I wish was there that wasn't.
I really liked a lot of I like the variety of stuff available to you for the combat though, like kind of themed with each homunculi having their own thing and you getting to sort of mix and match. Like I think that's a pretty cool idea, especially because some of them have like different synergies and stuff. There's
a lot of those, like with any Metroidvania really, there's a lot of those like blocked off paths with different kind of like weird walls, or at first you can't go underwater, so you have to find a thing that lets you swim underwater. Another homunculi that assist with that. There's one that lets you like grab onto walls and then like charge up something where you will go horizontally all the way across the level until you hit another wall or something. And that becomes necessary because you have to unlock certain blocked paths that way. There's one that goes upward, does the same thing. So it's got a lot of those like unlock mechanics that you will be unlocking as you progress through the game. None of them are very like useful outside of specifically unlocking those certain things. Arguably the one that goes up in the air, like that's the most useful one because that gives you a lot more height than you're used to getting. So there are some areas you can just like discover that you couldn't before, only because you get a lot more like vertical than you could previously. Yeah. So there's a lot with all of that. None of it felt like super impactful where it's like a whole new thing. It's a lot of like the same things you're seeing in other games, but just done collectively as like, these are your movement / unlock tools now. That's, part of the course for any Metroidvania, really, as long as it's like leaning more into the Metroidvania side of things. Nine Souls, taking it back to that, had less of those because it was less of a Metroidvania, more of a Souls-like. This one, being pure Metroidvania, is like really leaning into that unlock stuff and those blocked walls, and you will notice a lot of them. But I at least appreciated, going back to the map thing, that it tells you where those walls are and whether or not you can get through them or not with your current set of abilities. So you're not going to be sitting around like fiddling with your controls like, oh, maybe if I angle it this way, I can unlock this certain door. It's like, no, it just has like a red marker over it on your map if you can't get through it regardless until you get a different move. So
Right.
I appreciated that, at least as far as the map is concerned. There are multiple endings, and by multiple I mean 2. I got both of them. The harder one, or the true ending, I guess, which I won't spoil what they are or anything like that, but I just want to say that the true ending, you will have to have like a certain item that you can pick up through what I think was a side quest. Again, I'm not sure like what's a side quest and what was main quest anymore, but I think it was a side quest. You get this item, and it was a pretty lengthy one, pretty lengthy like quest. And then when you have that equipped, it's an extra relic you would need to equip, then it makes the final boss. You will still fight the same final boss, but they become more challenging and have like more stages that they're going through. Like, I'm thinking 4 to 5 different stages instead of the 2 or 3 possibly that the base one had. I did the hard one first because I just already had that item and I wanted to see what would happen. So I thought that was just how the boss was until I unequipped it to get the other ending. And I was like, oh, this is way easier. So you're going to want to go for the true ending. It is a more challenging one, but if you want to get that, the real one, quote unquote, then you're going to have to take on the more challenging boss. That said, I did fight him on like the hardest setting. So he was a little harder for me personally. I don't think that's worth doing in this game. And I'll tell you why like a little bit later, but all the difficulty is really doing is making the enemies more like spongy, I guess, and making them hit harder. So you're not really affecting like their play style. They're just faster, stronger, and beefier. So
Okay.
that's not really the kind of like difficulty that I like, because that's artificially inflating something instead of like actually making you, I don't know, think on your feet or do something differently.
Right. It's not like the enemy AI is like more complex or anything. It's just
No.
Yeah, the
It's
numbers.
just a stronger thing that
Yeah.
you are having to hit more times.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Art and sound, those are fantastic. I have no complaints there. It's like a hand-painted visual style and this like beautiful piano score that's going on throughout. Like I was very invested in that aspect of it. Animation's very fluid. It just looked great all around. If you're familiar with the first game, it's kind of like that, but like a step above it. Again, no complaints there. Very smooth, very responsive, and very satisfying throughout the adventure. I think that this game is a beautifully crafted Metroidvania with really fantastic world building and rewarding exploration, but the combat it just really didn't click for me. The enemies don't really react to your hits unless you break their stamina bar, which makes a lot of these fights feel oddly weightless. I, for instance, love like slow, heavy-hitting weapons, but even the battle axe you can equip as Nola, which is like the biggest weapon in the game, it didn't feel impactful. The damage difference between that and like a faster sword wasn't enough to justify the sluggishness of the axe. And since the enemies don't even really react to your hits until you break their stamina bar, it's like you can, whether you stab them in the chest with a sword or swing a giant axe and hit them in the face, they're gonna just absorb it the same way. And so that's where it doesn't really, you don't feel the weight of combat as much as I wish you did. And again, I'm coming off of playing Nine Souls as my last Metroidvania, which is very combat focused. So I was spoiled by that. So coming back over to something like this, not saying it's bad, it just doesn't feel the way that I wish it did.
Sure.
As far as combat goes. So, and while the game offers plenty of combat customization, it really feels more like an illusion of choice, since I really just found one effective, like efficient setup early on, and I stuck with that pretty much my whole playthrough. Cranking up the difficulty, like I was talking about earlier, doesn't really improve things much. There's no achievement for it, first of all. So if you're going for that, like that doesn't matter. It just makes enemies tankier and hit harder without changing their attack patterns at all or the way that they're moving. And there are for whatever reason, optional challenges you can like turn on and off like at any point in the game. Like one disables healing, and there's this one that makes it like a one-hit death mode.
Oh,
but
geez.
they don't offer any incentive beyond bragging rights, I guess.
So there's no achievement for those either?
No achievement for that.
Oh,
You're not getting anything extra because of it. With the difficulty settings, at those challenges aside, with the difficulty settings, at least you're getting more of the like crystal sort of currency that you are getting throughout the game if you ramp the difficulty up a little bit more. So that's some incentive to do it if you want to.
Okay.
I played it on hard throughout, so it was like, okay, cool. I was getting it was still like relatively easy. I didn't run into any issues until the final boss. The final boss's true form, which was kind of hard and took me a while on hard mode. But past that, it was very much doable throughout the game, or the whole game on that setting. But with the hardcore challenges, the story-driven nature of the game doesn't really seem suited for that level of challenge. So I cannot see, unless you're just doing it for views or like just to say you did it and have like a video of it, then I cannot see a reason to do it past that. It just doesn't feel like the type of game that really encourages that sort of gameplay. Exploration is one of this game's biggest strengths, but the way the rooms turn blue, I spoke on that earlier. I'm not fully sold on that just because it takes away some of the organic joy of discovery and it makes it feel more like a completionist checklist. Two things. I don't know that I would have 100%ed this had those not been there, but I also don't feel fully satisfied that I 100%ed this because those were there. I don't know if that makes sense, but like...
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah, so it was more just like, cool, now I am so done with this game that I have zero reason to go back to it because there's nothing left unexplored. The blue rooms tell me so. And I don't, that part of it just wasn't, the exploration part, which is really paramount to a lot of these Metroidvania games, just didn't feel satisfying enough for me.
Sure.
Despite all my issues, and I know there were a lot of them were very small things that just kind of bugged me, I still think that this is a strong Metroidvania experience as far as pure Metroidvanias go. If the combat style of this clicks with you, then there's a lot to love here. If you like that customization, even though a lot of it doesn't feel as weighty as I wish it did, then I think that will really make you happy with the options that you have. If you're not as focused on the combat and you just want a story-driven experience, then I think this is going to be fantastic for you because you can turn it on easy. You can use some of those autonomous homunculi that will do the work for you, and you can just kind of breeze through it. So the positive aspect of every negative that I pointed out is this is a very user-friendly game. This is a game that could really be played for anyone or by anyone, which I couldn't say about Nine Souls. Nine Souls is a very specific experience for freaks like myself, but this one
I like that
is
you admit
more.
it. You're a freak.
But this one is more. Enter Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist is more for a general audience, I'll say, and I don't mean that as any kind of like negative anything. I just mean it's more open for any way you want to approach it because there's just so many different ways to play it. So that would be the biggest compliment that I could give it, even with my own grievances that I had about it. So game, not bad by any means, definitely deserving of the overwhelmingly positive reviews it has gotten, especially on Steam and everything. And even though it didn't match my personal preferences, if you're more into the adventure or progression aspects of Metroidvania, or you want just a more story-focused experience rather than the hyper-tactile combat that I like, then I think you'll enjoy it a lot more. While it's not necessarily going to be on my like GOTY list at all, I'd still recommend it to fans of this genre, just with the caveat that it might not scratch that really satisfying combat itch for everyone if that's your thing.
Yeah.
That's all.
From the little I've played of it so far, I do enjoy some aspects of it. Like specifically, I mean, obviously I really like the story of it for sure. I like the combat so far, though I would agree with you 100%. And I think it's in the beginning, probably not nearly as noticeable as farther in, but like what you were saying about how the enemies just don't really react as much to the attacks without that stamina bar going down. Like that gets pretty noticeable on those boss battles that like, you know, you feel like you should be doing, I don't know, something. Like the idea that you can be just like wailing on an enemy and they're just still like slowly walking forward, you know,
or just shooting through your
attack.
attacks and still it makes the slower paced combat even less appealing, because like by the time you finish one of your swings, an enemy has already gotten a shot off and hit you, even though you've hit him first. So that's where that kind of thing I struggle with a little bit. Even with like in something like Dark Souls, for example, smaller enemies will always have some kind of stagger to them when you hit them, just period, as they should.
Yes.
This game, even the smallest enemy will fight right through your hit until you break a stamina bar. And that just feels odd to me. That's all.
Yeah, especially when like your weapons or attacks. Like, I guess it would be different if you did have those weapons or attacks that did more damage and broke those stamina bars like very quickly, like even in 2 hits or something. But when it's not like that, you know, and you have to do essentially like multiple rounds of attacks to break that stamina bar, then yeah, it does get frustrating. And I actually like, I would say third boss in was really where I was feeling that and was just kind of like, man, it was just getting a little frustrating. So yeah, I definitely see that.
Yeah. And I really don't mean to like harp on it so much, because I don't want to dissuade people.
I'm kidding.
No, I don't want to dissuade people from trying it out. If you've been listening to this show at all, you just know I have a very specific taste in games. And this one was probably just not for me. I completed it. I bought it. Like, I've already given my money and my time to it, but it wasn't as enjoyable as I wish it were. That's all.
Yeah. I think it's like, it has so many cool ideas. And like I said, I love the idea of the customization you can do for your attacks and everything. I just think it needs, really all it needs, I think, is a little bit more optimization.
Probably. Like with the weapons specifically, it almost feels overly balanced in a weird way that doesn't seem like this game should, where like I was talking about the giant axe, like that's really not doing, even though you have these different bars on the item that tell you like this has this much strength, this much speed, stuff like that.
Yeah.
When I see that my axe is supposed to be doing much more, or has much more power, or whatever it was called, I'm expecting like a big difference. Instead, it's like I can do more damage with 2 quick strikes with the sword than I can do with 1 slow swing with the axe. Even if like the sword, I could probably do it faster than that axe swing finishes. So that's where it's like, I'm a little balance wise, and to your point, optimization wise, I think if they just like actually leaned heavier into those percentages that they are showing on or not percentages, but the bars that they're showing on all the stats, that it may make the customization feel more impactful.
Yeah, exactly. But I do love the idea of the homunculi, them having all the different things. Like, I loved themed things like that. So that part of me is very satisfied when it comes to this game. So
yeah, it was a novel approach, cool. Beautiful game, sounded great. I think people should play it, but I think if you're going for combat, maybe try out a demo or something first, because I don't know if that's going to really stick with you.
New game!
Let's get into our second topic here. This is Urban Myth Dissolution Center. This was released February 12th, 2025. This was developed by Hakababunko and published by Shueisha Games. I know I sounded terrible saying those, but I tried. Retails for $17.99 at the moment we're recording is 10% off. So I did nab this one up. For a quick description, Urban Myth Dissolution Center is an episodic mystery adventure that delves into various urban myths haunting the internet. Players assume the role of Azami Fukurai, navigating through cases involving cursed relics, monstrous oddities, and dimensional anomalies, all presented in stunning psychedelic pixel art. This game is essentially Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright, and World of Horror had a crazy pixel art baby. It's like that kind of in look. It's like that in feel. It's like that in gameplay. That is the best way I can describe it. If you like both of those things, if you're a fan of the Ace Attorney games, if you're a fan of World of Horror, this is a perfect blend of them both. So talking about the gameplay mechanics, it is an investigation game. So you, as a zombie, you basically kind of end up meeting this group. She is kind of like the everyman. She's your into this world. She's got a problem. She meets the Urban Myth Dissolution Center, and something happens, and she needs to pay them a lot of money. So now she is going to be working for them. So as a zombie, you are exploring various locations, gathering clues, interacting with characters to unravel the mysteries behind these urban myths. There's also like a social media component of this where you are like digging through social media posts using a zombie's phone that could be related to these urban myths. So you might be like looking at a social media site, looking at people's posts, at the comments, looking for people talking about a very specific urban myth or a incident that happened, and you're trying to find out more information, trying to stop the urban myth from spreading more. And I will talk more about what it means, like what these urban myths really are, what they mean and everything like that. So I'll get there in a minute. A zombie herself has clairvoyance. And what that means in this game is that she can see shadowy remnants of the past. So, for example, in like one of the very first investigations, she goes into this apartment and she is trying to solve this mystery of like these two women saw something, this creepy, shadowy thing showed up in their apartment. They had to run away. This thing was, looked menacing, looked like it was going to hurt them. They had posted it online. You do some investigating. You find out where their apartment is based on these social media posts. You get there, you talk to them. And she has these glasses that she puts on that help kind of focus her abilities. So you can take those on and off to see those shades a little bit more, focused. So like in one part of the room, you can kind of see what looks like these shadowy legs running and kind of deduce, okay, you're looking at the remnants of what happened last night. It's them running out the door. And then you look to the other side and you are seeing kind of a vague outline of the thing, whatever it was that was in the room that they were running from. So kind of doing some investigating based around that and trying to figure out what was this thing in the room? How did it get in there? Why is it there? Is it dangerous? If it is dangerous, what does that mean? So with that too, there's a lot of speaking to people, which means a lot of dialogue choices. So you're engaging in conversations with multiple characters with dialogue options influencing the direction and outcome of your investigations. And as you are sort of gathering clues, you are journaling all the different things that you are learning, and then you will kind of do a little bit of sleuthing as you go back and reflect on certain things in your journal. So you'll have to sort of come to different conclusions in this sort of deduction sort of way, where if you think of games almost like Golden Idol, you will be presented with sort of a statement that has some blanks, and a zombie's thinking, okay, what was happening in this apartment last night? And you'll have kind of a word bank and you'll have to move some of the words in there to try to make your best deduction as to what happened. That'll happen several times as you're trying to solve this investigation. Sometimes it's straightforward and sometimes it's complex and there's a lot more puzzle solving to really get there and figure out exactly what's going on. And then the game is also divided into episodes. As I said, this was very episodic. If you think back to like the Ace Attorney games, it's kind of how they are. There's sort of like different episodes with different cases. but those combined are creating this long overarching narrative. And that narrative is linear. So it really just kind of like keeps escalating and unfolding this thing that's kind of happening while you're doing these smaller cases and everything. So when I'm talking about these urban legends, these things are all based in like Japanese folklore. And I mean, it's really Japanese urban myth. This whole thing is like a Japanese style game, very much like World of Horror, but it does pull from other cultures too. It even pulls from very new urban myths like Lobe. Are you familiar with Lobe, Joseph?
Nope.
Okay, so Lobe is probably the more prominent, like newest urban myth that is like, there is and you might find this fascinating. So with AI image generating and like the boom that had, there is like this weird, creepy, like somewhat distorted woman's face that for whatever reason has showed up, like the same face has showed up in a lot of like AI generated images done by different people. It has led to this kind of like urban myth that has kind of grown and grown and grown. I mean, that's how these urban myths work. And kind of created this idea of like, is there some sort of like ghost haunting something within this AI technology? The woman has been dubbed Lobe. I don't remember why, but Loab. It's like a whole thing. But even that has made its way into this game. And so that is kind of like how this game functions, thinking about that and specifically how that sort of took off in like the real world here, is that these like urban myths are sort of like tied to people or relics or certain things within the world of this game for various purposes, whether it's like some sort of emotion or some sort of incident or something. And the more these things kind of get like talked about, or the more emotional weight it carries, the more powerful, the more prevalent this urban myth becomes, which is kind of why this Dissolution Center basically exists, is they're sort of trying to find out, okay, like, why is it resurfacing now? Where did it come from? Azami will try to find a way to stop this thing from manifesting, shut it down, get people to stop talking about it, you know, kind of take away its power, things like that. So that's sort of like the story of the game and how it unfolds. And it's very fascinating. It features, like I said, pixel art that's very anime inspired, but very psychedelic as far as like the colors and the camera angles and everything that it takes on. And it creates like this very unique and immersive look to it that really works for like the supernatural side of this thing. If you look at some of the screenshots of this game, especially, you'll see one of a woman outside of like an apartment complex with this one urban myth figure in like a red hoodie, like looking at her. It's very creepy looking. And it is like the perfect encapsulation of why this is an interesting game and why I'm really attracted to it. The soundtrack is also very atmospheric. It's eerie, it's mysterious, really ambient, and just really also enhances like the story and the unsettling nature of it. As I played it, I would say that the beginning of it starts very slow because it's very much introducing you to sort of the world of this thing, introducing you to the Dissolution Center. But once I finally got through all of that sort of tutorial stuff and got into the first case, I was absolutely hooked. And I will say, like, right away, the strong suit of this game is not gameplay, because the gameplay is very simple, obviously.
That's very funny. Okay.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. You know, it's like, you don't look at games. I'm not playing
this
like,
game to play a game.
Well, it's like, you know, you think about games, and I don't know if you've ever played them, but like the Ace Attorney games.
No, I
like
haven't.
The attraction to those games, and even like I would say Case of the Golden Idol and stuff, the attraction to those games isn't super responsive gameplay or fast gameplay or anything like that. The appeal to that is the story that unfolds, and also like using your brain to try to piece together like this mystery, this narrative, and move this story along and experience the characters. That is where the real strong suit is with this, and especially it being so leaning so hard into horror and like horror mythology. That was really, really cool. And there are some like genuinely creepy things in this game that have me so excited to play more of it. So again, I would say if you are one of those people that does like the format of like the Ace Attorney games, if you like Junji Ito or you liked the game World of Horror when that came out, this is a game that is absolutely going to appeal to you, and I think you should give it a shot.
This is one that I would love to watch as like an anime or something, but I know that it's not a game that would be appealing to me personally, just because it's a visual novel, so that's not my thing just in general. But I love the visuals of it. The idea of it sounds super cool, but like you immediately said that, gameplay is not the reason to go into this. And I gameplay is very important to me, obviously. That's why I went on this whole tirade about gameplay on the last game we talked about. But so that's why like I know what is not going to be for me as far as a video game goes, but I appreciate this game for fans of visual novels, for fans of those, mystery solving type of games, because it looks like a very high quality one of those.
I'm glad that you mentioned you would like to see this as an anime. Like, the story is so interesting and well written, and I want to say too that the characters are quickly they quickly have so much depth to them. Within seconds of meeting each character, you feel like you have an understanding of what type of character they are without them going, like, none of them are really stereotypes. Like, there's a few that sort of lean a certain direction and you can make an assumption, but it's just that they're able to communicate the personality of these characters so well, so quickly. The story, as like these mysteries unfold, is also extremely well done. The whole time I was playing this, I'm like, oh my God, this would be such a good anime or manga or something. If they leaned into that, man, I would be ready to watch day one.
Yeah, manga too. Like, this has a lot of it's giving me kind of like Chainsaw Man energy in a way. And I don't know that that's true, but just visually, that's kind of what I was feeling from some of the things I was seeing. And I love Chainsaw Man, and I'm caught up on the manga on that. So yes, I would read this as a manga or watch it as an anime. Would I play it as a game? Probably not, but I can at least appreciate that it exists as a game.
Well, good news for you. You can watch me play it as a game. I did play the demo, which is up on our YouTube. And then I am going to be playing the full game and doing that as a series on YouTube. So jumping back into it, very excited to do that. That'll be coming out over the next several weeks, months, however long it takes me to get through it. So
Combo!
Let's talk about other indie games we've been playing this week. And since you were talking about the length of games, let me talk about the shortest game I think I've ever played, which is Batography. In this charming free-to-play adventure, you play as Bit, a curious little bat on a mission to capture a perfect photograph of the full moon. Navigate through a cozy moonlit town, interact with sassy animal inhabitants, and overcome various obstacles by running, climbing, and gliding. I brought this up a few weeks back. I finally got around to playing it. It is super short. Like I said, it's less than 15 minutes, but it's really cute. Love the art style. And I really like the mechanic of this too. Essentially, what you are doing is, the overall goal, like I said, is to take the best picture of the full moon. You need to get to a certain like high point to be able to get that photo that you want. But there are obstacles and things in your way that Bit can't take care of on his own, like a big pile of trash, or there is like power lines that are obviously messed up because you can see electricity going through it and he can't climb up that power line and hop over the other side because he'll get electrocuted. But there are people in the town that you can speak to One is like the electrical worker. One is like the sanitation worker and stuff, who are all like either lazy, grumpy, something like that. And they're just like, I don't know. Like, I don't have any proof. What your job is with your little camera is to go around and take photos of the things, basically to prove to them, hey, go do your job. And take a picture of like the trash that's really piled up. And then the sanitation worker will be like, oh, crap. Yeah, I guess I should do that. And then he clears it. And then there's more of the level that's now accessible to you that you can, move through. And just it unlocks different things that way. And I like that mechanic of taking photos and using those photos to progress through the level and everything and remove those progression blocks. I do think a longer, fuller game could be built from the bones of this. So I'm kind of interested to see if that is in the future for this studio or not, or if somebody is interested in taking that idea and kind of running with it. But it was a charming little game. I love the art style of it where everything is silhouetted. Like everybody's just in full black silhouette with only their eyes is what you can see. And it just has like a nice little charm and humor to it. So short, sweet, and I got 100% completion on it. And it didn't have just one. Thank you. It had, I don't know, 8?
2.
Maybe? I think it had maybe 8.
It has 12, it says.
Okay, it had 12. And I got them all. So there.
But one of them just like exist, walk,
whatever.
Push A. No.
One of them was touch grass.
Yeah, basically.
No, it literally was. One of them was called touch grass.
Oh, yeah. That literally, I see
I
that.
had to go touch grass.
95% of players have that one. Not all players have touch grass.
Yeah, I had to do that. So I collected all the moon cakes. I found a hidden character. It was fun. Here's one that I specifically wanted to bring up for you because I think you would enjoy this. And also, like, this game is not getting enough attention and it needs more attention. This is called Metal Suits Counterattack. And this is a side-scrolling run-and-gun platformer where you play as a former war hero turned cyborg named Kevin as he seeks revenge against the aliens known as the Golida who wrecked his life. If you have ever thought, what if Metroid and Mega Man made a baby? And what that would look like. One, the action sounds terrible, but the result could be great. This is that game. It plays very well. The platforming is great, has a great feel to it, very reminiscent of the Super Nintendo and Genesis era in that regard, but with a lot of modern sensibilities as far as the controls and optimization. And the big appeal here is that you were like, this guy, this warrior running around with this little like blaster pistol, and he's very nimble, run and jump, all that stuff. But there are different suits that can spawn at different points in the levels, which can totally change how Kevin plays. Very Mega Man style in that way. Like you can get a flamethrower suit, a mega punch kind of suit, a heavy gun suit, one where your gun is an electric guitar that shoots electricity. Like they get pretty wild. And it's a lot of fun, and there's like exploding items all over the levels, so lots of things blowing up all the time to take enemies out, which was just very satisfying. The graphics are really sharp pixel art with some really nicely detailed character avatars that pop up during character conversations, and definitely some over-the-top humor in some areas to it, especially the very beginning when you see Kevin first get attacked, like when the aliens first show up. I laughed out loud so hard when that happened. So it was a really fun time. I wholeheartedly recommend this. And it is, like I said, it's just not getting nearly the attention it deserves. This is one that I want to keep playing. And it deserves way more than what it's getting. So like I would recommend to everybody, go check this out. If you're a fan of Super Nintendo, Genesis era platformers, go check it out. Metal Suits Counterattack on Steam. It's super fun.
Just seeing Kevin, he reminds me of like, what is it? Kid Vid from Burger King, I think it was.
Yeah, a little bit there.
Red cap and the blonde hair. Part of the Burger King Kids Club.
I forgot about those guys.
But
Yeah.
it does look cool. I'll add that to my cart real quick because it is on sale for I think 17 right now. I might pick that up.
I specifically think that you would really enjoy it, honestly.
Looks very fun. Yeah, I do
so
love
good.
like 2D platformers. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
So the last game I'm going to talk about, I'm going to totally end the fun and talk about AfterLove EP. Oh my God, man. This game. Okay, AfterLove EP is a slice of life adventure set in modern Jakarta. The game blends visual novel elements with a narrative adventure and rhythm-based gameplay where players step into the shoes of Rama, a young musician struggling to move forward after the death of his girlfriend, Sinta. The story explores themes of love, loss, and self-discovery. Let me talk about the gameplay first, then I'll talk about my experience playing the demo of this thing. So it's part like visual novel, part dating sim, part rhythm-based, kind of as I said. You are getting your band back together after a year of grieving. And so you're connecting with old friends, you're making new ones, you're establishing potential new love interests, maybe, while also going to therapy for the very first time. And the whole time, you're hearing Sinta's voice talking to you and giving you feedback in your head. And many times it's really sweet, but it's not always helpful or right or good advice. And there's also kind of a slight hint towards the end of the demo, which like, I think the demo was way longer than I expected it to be. Like I'm talking almost 2 hours, that maybe we have a little bit of a case of an unreliable narrator when it comes to Rama and his past. So there's just so much to unpack here. It's very emotional. More than almost any game I've played. And if that doesn't sound very heavy, I'm about to make it worse. So this was made by the same creator who developed Coffee Talk, Mohammed Fahmy, who actually passed away before this game was released. So it's a game about losing someone you love, released by a dev who put like their heart and soul into this thing and then also passed away. So it is just gut-wrenching, man. Like, it is such a beautiful story that I need to see all the way through. And it's like, it really is one of those ones that's going to, when you play it, it is going to tear open some old wounds for some players. Like it definitely did for me, but it'll also allow like a sense of like healing and almost like a little bit of like therapy in and of itself, which is kind of weird to say, seeing how this character is going to therapy, but like it almost feels like you're doing a little bit of therapy along with him. It feels very raw. It's very emotional. It's very real. And a lot of the dialogue between Rama and the characters. And my God, you can't help but like feel joy when he feels joy and also feel sick to your stomach at certain times when like he is remembering things or when certain things happen. So it is absolutely a beautiful, bittersweet, heart-wrenching story that like I would recommend this to everyone. Again, it's not like a super hands-on, gameplay sort of game. Aside from, the rhythm-based stuff is cool. It's got an amazing soundtrack to it, which also comes into play with those rhythm things. But it is a story and a narrative that I think a lot of people need, with the caveat that it could be triggering for some people that have had to deal with such a loss.
Looks nice. I haven't played it, so that's all I can really say. It looks nice.
Yeah.
The rhythm aspect is interesting. Yeah, really sad story around it, it sounds like.
Yeah, big time. Let's jump from that very somber thing and talk about some Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, let's talk about some fun stuff. So I've been playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate DLC, which is Casey Jones and the Junkyard Jam. This is, for anybody who doesn't know, so this is a game that is like a Ninja Turtles version of Hades, essentially a fast-paced action roguelike with pretty tight combat and plenty of progression mechanics and customization. You can play as any of the Ninja Turtles, at least in the base game. And then with the DLC added is the ability to play as Casey Jones and introduce new artifacts, new upgrades, new abilities. and a new area that you can go to, the junkyard, which is luckily not forced on you. You can kind of like, there's a spot that you go to after you beat a certain boss that it branches paths, and you can choose to either go the junkyard route or the normal route. So all of it's implemented into the game very well so far. I haven't spent enough time with the DLC portion of it to really say how much that adds to the end game, but I had a blast with this game when it first dropped. Initially, I played it on Switch, but then it came out for PC late last year, I think. And so I've been only recently jumping back into this, but I'm having to replay it from the beginning since I just have a Switch save. And so I'm still enjoying as I'm going back through it. Still have to unlock a lot of stuff. Still need to go through all the Junkyard DLC to really see what all they've added with it. But I have played as Casey, and he is very fun to play. He's definitely more of a bruiser character. He's kind of adding like some statistical upgrades and like different ways to fight into the game, which are nice. And then I haven't unlocked any of the new artifacts that are out, but I think there are at least like 5 or 6 that I saw. And what you do with those is it kind of like you choose one to go with you at the start of a run, and then that will affect your gameplay in some way. So I don't know what those all do yet, but I saw that there were at least 5 or 6 of them, like I said.
Explain real quick for those wondering, like, what makes you bring this to a show about indie games? Because there's probably some people wondering, like, but this is an established IP. What does that mean?
Well, just like with Power Rangers that we talked about a couple weeks ago, this one was actually developed by an indie studio, which was Super Evil Megacore.
I love that.
Yeah, and I looked it up to confirm that it was an indie studio because I wasn't sure myself, but it is. And so that's exciting because it's like, cool, these indie studios are being given these like larger properties to work with, I'm sure within certain like limitations, but it's still nice to see that it's not all like AAA studio kind of things that take a little bit of the soul out of some of these games. So it's nice to see like a more personal touch from an indie studio on a well-known franchise. The other game that I have played this week was a demo of Project Tachyon. I don't know how to say that word. That sounds right.
Sure.
And this is a 2D platformer that launched on February 13th. I don't know if you can play the demo anymore. Actually, I know you can't because I tried this morning to boot it back up to like remind myself of some things, and it just wouldn't load anymore. It says I don't have a license for it. So it's like, okay, well, demo's down. But this one is it's set in a cyberpunk world where you play as Sigma, an agent traveling through time to prevent an AI uprising, at least on the surface. There's more to it, but I won't go into that. This game blends a dynamic kind of melee and ranged combat with roguelite elements, offering up your upgrades you're in the form of your genes that kind of fine tune your playstyle. Like you literally have like a DNA strand that you're putting little things into.
Oh,
and that's
weird.
kind of, well, you're not like physically dragging them in there. It's like they just are part of that line. Apparently there's combinations that might cause some sort of like negatives. I didn't run into any of that, but just from when I was talking to one of the NPCs, like that's what he was describing is like, I don't know, you have to be careful for one reason or another. I don't know if the demo would even like display any of that, but yeah, that's at least something that apparently happens. So the demo itself, though, does give a pretty solid introduction to the story and the mechanics. Some of the aspects of it felt a little unpolished or at least like weird to me, most notably the aiming system. So unlike the standard twin stick shooter setup where movement and aiming are handled separately, like movement is usually your left stick on a controller and on your right stick is aiming. And that's just what I'm so used to because that's what every twin stick shooter at least does, just about. Unlike this one where you are controlling both your movement and your aim with the left stick, and that just doesn't feel like super natural to me. There's an auto aim that you can toggle on as part of your, your automated weapons kit that helps mitigate some of the weirdness of that. But I still, at least in the early hours, well, I only played about like a little less than 40 minutes of this, I think, like 37 minutes, something like that. But I found myself struggling at first to get the precision that I'm used to because I'm not I'm used to, aiming with the right stick and that not doing anything. I don't even remember what that actually does in this game. It felt harder to control like where exactly I wanted to be shooting or going. But that said, I suspect like that's still one of those mechanics that it'll just take some getting used to. And I've encountered games like that before where it felt super foreign at first. And then like once I locked in, I really got it and I understood why they did it this way and appreciated it after the fact. So I'm hoping I get there with this game because past that minor hiccup, I found the overall experience pretty intriguing. So I'm likely going to pick up the full game, especially since like at base price, it's like $18 and it's on sale right now for, I think like less than $15. So it seems like a pretty solid deal to me.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I like the idea of like the gameplay and like the changes that you make. You're actually like changing the DNA of the character. That's just a cool idea. Even if that's just sort of the theme of it, like that's a cool idea.
Yeah, it's a neat idea. Even it's just like your basic games where it's like, oh, it's just an upgrade that does a thing and it resets, because I did at least appreciate the fact that they were explaining why this roguelike structure is working as it is. It's a time travel thing. So they're putting some kind of logic behind it and you're not just like respawning,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, and I really love the art style of it. It's one of those where you'll have profiles of people pop up as you're talking to them with text boxes, but they all look really good. So I'm excited to try more.
Final round.
As far as upcoming games on our radar wishlist or play calendar, there's a few I want to talk about, but one thing I wanted to mention real quick is this isn't a game that we played, but this is a game that was brought to our attention by Oro Interactive. This is one of their games. They reached out to us to let us know about their new game that's to be announced called Storebound, which is a 1 to 4 player SCP-based survival horror game, which is set in what very much looks like an IKEA store. So imagine like IKEA with like the idea of like the Backrooms style kind of game added into it. So you're in there with 1 to 4 players and there's something else in there hunting you down while you're attempting to hide, sneak, and escape. There's no demo to play of it just yet, but they sent us a teaser trailer and it does look pretty creepy. Like I played one Backrooms game and like I don't have an itch to play another one, but this one is much more of, I don't know, like some Dead by Daylight to it in that way too, I guess, where like you have to really like hide and try to escape this thing that's hunting you down. It's pretty creepy looking for sure. So I'm sure it's going to be one of those ones that like, playing it by yourself, I can't say that it'll be fun, but playing it with a group of friends, it looks like it would be a pretty good time. So check that out. That is Storebound. And for games that I'm excited for coming out, I've got a lot of games that I've talked about over the last several weeks or months that are just now finally coming out. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I'm just going to say when they're releasing. So Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. This is the one that was being released by the original developers from Life is Strange. That is coming out on the 18th. So it's out by the time you're listening to this. Cabernet, which is a game that I talked about a long time ago. It had gotten pushed back quite a bit and is now finally coming out on the 20th. And then Stories from Seoul, The Gun Dog, is releasing on the 20th as well. That is one I'm very, very excited for and will likely be playing. So the last one I want to talk about is one that I haven't brought up yet. This is Ruffy and the Riverside. Date is to be determined for the release. In Ruffy and the Riverside, you wield the magic swap to copy and paste textures. So turn ice into lava or waterfalls into vines, explore, fight, skate on straw bales, and unleash your imagination in this quirky open world action game. Dive into an adventure that lets you literally change the world. This is a super cool looking game. This is the type of game that reminds me of like the visual style and innovation that I feel like would be at home at Nintendo. And like the mechanic of this thing of copying and pasting textures to solve puzzles in this platformer is just such a cool idea. So I'm very, very excited about this. We're also like in contact with the developer of this too. So we're going to try to see if we can get him on the podcast at some point, or at least do like an interview. So more to come on that, but very, very looking forward to this game. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, I love the look of this game, and it's giving me a lot of kind of a blend of Paper Mario and Mario Odyssey, if we're sticking with Nintendo.
Yes.
Just because of the Odyssey, because of the switch of perspectives that it looks like are possible, and Paper Mario just because of the general art style and the
style,
sticker-esque look to the main character, at least. It looks like most of the other characters. So I visually very impressed by it. The idea of it seems very cool. And yeah, I'm excited to try this one out.
Heck yeah.
Or the games that I'm looking forward to. These are games that are already out, but I just haven't played them. And I want to. Guns of Fury is the first one that was released on February 13th. This is a retro-inspired action platformer that combines the run and gun and Metroidvania genres. So yet another Metroidvania game, but with the run and gun aspect thrown onto it. I'm finding the more of these Metroidvanias that I play, especially, I keep bringing up Nine Souls, because I loved it so much. That is a Metroidvania technically, but it's also mixed with a Souls-like, which is one of my, something that's very close to my heart. So these blended styles are really appealing to me. And this one being a run and gun / Metroidvania, I'm thinking we'll be leaning more into the run and gun aspect of it. So that is exciting to me. You are exploring interconnected world, gaining new abilities and weapons, battling epic bosses. And you're supposed to be stopping the plans of an evil corporation before it's too late. It looks visually like a blend of like a Metal Slug vibe. And
yeah, it does.
I think it just looks fun and ridiculous. And kind of like that game you were mentioning earlier, that Metal Suits one. It's giving me the same sort of energy of that, even if it's a different type of game. So those are just always appealing to me. It looks like it'll be a fun like challenge / adventure. So yeah, looking forward to that one. And then Tales of Iron 2 Whiskers of Winter, I have mentioned on here before. And this is the Dark Souls / Salt and Sanctuary like game where you play as a rat against like frogs and stuff. But I'm mainly putting this here because I bought it a few weeks ago and needed to remind myself to actually play it. So this is my own personal reminder to play that game.
Yeah, this looks fantastic. I love the artwork on this. I love just the idea of like this super dour, gritty world, but done with like cute little mice and frogs and things like that is just such an interesting idea to me. I love that.
Yeah. It's like a mouse guard, but like darker.
I'm super excited to see how that shakes out and watch you do some gameplay or something of that. So,
yeah.
Speaking of being excited, I'll be super excited also if you would do me a favor and share this episode with someone who loves indie games. And as always, you can catch me playing some of the games we discussed on the show, along with tons of other Let's Play content over at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/nerdsloth. And catch hundreds of hours of bonus content for just $1 a month by subscribing at the Nerdsloth Treehouse over at patreon.com/nerdsloth. We also have an exclusive podcast there called the Nerdsloth Podcast for those at the $5 tier as well, along with a few other exclusives only available to those members. I'm also going to like put up just like an hour or so gameplay of me playing Enter Magnolia up on our Patreon. Just because like it's the type of game that I'm really bad at and I don't want to put it on YouTube. It's funny how bad I am and just trust me on this one. It'll be enjoyable.
And that's like a easy game too.
It won't be funny for you. You'll get mad at me, but it'll be funny for everyone else.
I'm not going to watch it, but I trust you.
You don't watch it because then you'll quit the podcast. At nerdsloth.com, you can find a link to our Discord server. You can also join our subreddit for Indie Game Arcade. Help me post more reviews of indie games so more folks can find games that suit their gameplay style. Also join me over on Blue Sky. We have an account there for Nerdsloth where I'm posting stuff all the time.
Game over.
Anyway, that's game over for us. My name's Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And we'll continue on the next episode.
Continue.
Indie Game Arcade is recorded and produced by Sloth Creative. If you're looking for more gaming content, head over to youtube.com/nerdsloth.
For additional podcasts, go to nerdsloth.com. If you'd like to support the show, there are multiple tiers available at patreon.com/nerdsloth, with hundreds of hours of bonus content from everything we do at Sloth Creative, including bonus gameplay videos of the games we talk about on the show. The theme music for the show is Retro Game Tapes by Audio Lime. If you'd like to get in touch with us, or if you're an indie game developer and would like us to consider reviewing your game, send us an email to podcasts@nerdsloth.com with the subject line Indie Game Arcade.